which is you're only 4% natural gas. You have a huge investment in coal and a huge investment in nuclear. A lot of that appears to be legacy from the organization that you inherited and the way Duke has been built over the years. But it seems like you have a little bit of an unnatural fear of natural gas. You mentioned price volatility since 1984, when in fact over the last 25 years there have only been about 5 years where there was much price volatility at all, and that was during the early part of this decade. You throw out some red herrings of, well, it uses too much water, and I think we can prove that it's actually quite small relative to other sources of energy production. You mentioned chemicals. And I wonder, you mentioned not being able to do long-term contracts, and I negotiate one with you right outside the door. We have made it clear that we're looking for 10, 15-year contracts because for the first time in my career, we're confident about what our future costs are going to be. And I think that's the reason why our industry was reluctant to enter into long-term contracts in the past, because we weren't sure what it was going to cost to find new reserves of natural gas, and now with these huge new shale deposits, we know what that's going to be. But why is it that it's almost like you fear that you're on the wrong side, and that if I'm right about the amount of gas and the affordability of gas and the lack of volatility of gas and the environmental issues are overstated and those that are not overstated are becoming smaller, that somehow Duke has missed the boat, and you guys are stuck with two sources of power. One of them is too dirty, and the other is frankly too expensive to be competitive on a new build basis, and you're stuck not having made enough of a commitment to natural gas, and so therefore your job is to criticize it and try and find fault with it rather than embracing it. So I'd love to get a little bit more flavor as to why you had a predisposition to have such a problem with what I think is a pretty obvious solution to some of the challenges you face and the country faces.
I said twice in my presentation that I'm agnostic in terms of coal or nuclear or gas or renewables. And I'm agnostic because I'm looking for a fuel and an alternative that will allow me to maintain reliability and be affordable and clean over a long period of time. And I deliberately went on a little bit on gas because I knew you were here and I thought it would make a more interesting conversation for the people here to debate the gas question. And I have really a long view on gas. And shale gas is the new idea. And actually the question I was going to ask you is, convince me why. And I think you've done a pretty good job and made some very good and important points. I should tell you, though, that the reason I didn't say gas was crack cocaine. I said gas plants are crack cocaine because it gave us an instant capability to meet the demand of our customers without going through a long permitting process. And gas, and we were in an era when there was deregulation in our industry going forward. The capital cost is so low on gas plants compared to coal and nuclear, it was a more reasonable thing to do because you could build one in 2 to 3 years versus 5 to 10. So it was
Sounds like a good thing to me, not like crack cocaine.
No, but I call it crack cocaine because we didn't, a lot of people that built, we own some that are deregulated, we own some that are regulated. And the fact of the matter is that it was something that was easy to do, but at the end of the day, they don't run very much or dispatch very much economically. Because you're right, the prices, only 2 years ago were as high as $11 or $12 an M, and then they dropped to $3. And there's a lot of, I think part of it has to do is that the shale gas play is all of a sudden the great savior of our country in terms of energy use, and there's a lot not known about it yet. And I know you and others are doing a great job of educating people to this, but the lingering sort of fear that people have who have followed gas for the last 40 years is how gas has been available and not available, and how we had laws that said you couldn't burn it, then laws that said you can. And so it has a checkered history, in a sense. And the other important fact is this. If shale gas is so great, I believe that we have a longer history of drilling offshore and getting gas. And environmentally, that footprint is very small and very defined from years and years of offshore drilling. Why is it that the people that are embracing shale gas on the far left today still don't want offshore drilling? I think we need both in order to have an adequate supply, because the offshore drilling of gas augments the supply in the United States. And it's in my mind, the jury is out on shale gas, although I'm a lot smarter now than I was when I came into this room today. But the jury is still out. But let's not forget, it still has 50% of the carbon footprint of coal. And a lot of scientists say the cost to extract carbon from gas, because of the intensity of it, might prove to be more expensive than extracting from coal. So that's an unanswered question. Yes, it's lower carbon, but it's not zero carbon like nuclear.
So,
Maybe
you need to respond to that. I'll let Jim ask a question.
Yeah, I'll do it. Trust me. Just trying to hit some specific things. The jury being out, Jim, I think the jury has come in, and for various reasons you haven't noticed it. And so I'm going to invite you afterwards to bring you and your team to Oklahoma City. And we've given a shale school to the Chinese, we've given to Russians, we've given to Europeans as a consequence of it. We've had more than $10 billion brought into the United States from BP, from Total, from Statoil, from three major oil companies around the world who have done the research on natural gas and have invested in our projects. Exxon just spent $41 billion to buy the number 3 shale gas producer in the country, XTO, and I can assure you Exxon doesn't do anything without a great deal of study. So, hey, I think the jury's in, and either because you haven't had the time between Copenhagen and Davos and India and China to learn about it, but I'd like to spend some time with you to try and convince you that the jury is in. I think the second thing, though, with regard to, you mentioned offshore gas, geologically speaking, and I'm not a geologist, but I know a little bit here, the big discoveries offshore the past 10 years in the deep water have all been oil. And very little gas is found in the deep waters of the Gulf of Mexico and other deep water basins around the world. So I think deep water drilling certainly is something the country needs to do more of, but I think it's to generate greater